Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of 2024. I'm your host, Lisa Buffo, the founder and CEO of the Cannabis Marketing Association. We have got an amazing lineup of guests for you this year, and it's going to be another interesting and very exciting year in cannabis marketing. There's been a lot of changes in the cannabis industry and a lot of changes in the marketing space and industry as well that are really changing the landscape. We've got news of possible rescheduling of cannabis going from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 after the recommendation of Health and Human Services, the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the DEA that came out in winter 2023, as well as early 2024. So that's exciting. And we are responding accordingly. And we've got a really awesome new lineup of benefits and content for our members this year. So we're rolling out new and additional member benefits for you all, including a series that we're doing called War Room Wednesdays. So on the last Wednesday of the month, it's a quick 30-minute webinar, but I'm going to be doing similar reporting like I did for our end of year State of Cannabis Marketing series, where we're going to be talking about current events in cannabis marketing. We're going to be talking about the changes that are happening politically and legally and how that is important for marketers and how to prepare. We're going to be doing some education on different topics. And then just like most marketers do, right? When we strategize, we get into a war room with our team and we come up with ideas and we solve problems. So we're going to leave space for our members to talk about what problems they are going through and what they need help with, and give time for people to respond and come up with solutions. That being said, you can always check out our website, thecannabismarketingassociation.com, or reach out to us, membership@marketingcannabis.org, for more information. Okay, so today's episode, we're going to be talking about SEO a little bit. We're going to be talking about the space for marketing agencies, as well as what we see happening for cannabis this year. So today's guest is Max Uhas. Max is the owner of Dope SEO and the co-founder of Bud Plug. His company focuses on helping small businesses in the cannabis space compete evenly with larger entities. And for the last 8 years, he's helped cannabis and hemp companies generate millions in extra revenue through digital marketing and SEO. Okay, welcome everybody to today's episode of Party Like a Marketer, the podcast dedicated to cannabis marketing, public relations, and authentic storytelling. Today's guest is Max Uhas, the CEO of Dope SEO and the co-founder of Bud Plug. Max, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. This is great. I'm super excited for this.
I love doing interviews and podcasts with you and just chatting with you offline. We've had so many good conversations.
Right.
So can you let our audience know a little bit about Max, who you are, tell us about Dope SEO and Bud Plug, and how you got started in cannabis?
Sure. So hey, everybody watching, this is Max Uhas, the founder of Dope SEO and the co-founder of Bud Plug. I have a weird, history with cannabis. I have a weird story with cannabis. I grew up on the East Coast in New Jersey in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s. Basically, I left the East Coast in 2001, 2003, but I was there during the whole, and way before Legacy was Legacy, and it was just normal. I got into direct sales. I ran a door-to-door sales company for about 15 years. And what ended up happening was the internet was killing us, because when we started, it was great. You could just do door-to-door sales, and any story that you told people, they would believe. And then the internet happened, and people wanted to research your company, and you had to have a website, you had to have a maps listing, you had to have all this. And the guys that I worked with were absolute dinosaurs. And I decided to, in my part-time, when I wasn't running my company, I learned digital marketing. And I basically, and me just being having just decades of sales experience, and before all this, I was doing club promotions in New York. We ran some of the biggest hip hop parties in New York. I partied with Wu-Tang. There's a whole in Eminem and all these other guys that's a whole lifetime before a lifetime before a lifetime. But then I got into sales because I was like, I got to do something, because I'm going to end up going to jail just because of all the people that I'm around. So I got into direct sales, and I moved across the country. And basically I taught myself digital marketing. I invested money into digital marketing. I invested money in how to rank websites on YouTube, how to do this, how to do that. A lot of my videos are still up just as, just because I'm kind of curious to see how they aggregate still. But I mean, like I made my first $10,000 online through YouTube videos back in 2016, 2017, just from creating content that I thought was helpful for people. And because I could do it for myself, then I could sell it as a service. So that's when we started creating the agency. I built my first, cannabis website in 2016 for a buddy of mine who was running a cannabis delivery service out in Arizona. I was hired on by Plain Jane or Plain Jane CBD, which back when 2018, the farm bill, when everybody was going crazy about CBD and hemp, and the whole world thought that CBD was cannabis, and we had to educate a ton of people. But through organic SEO, just from e-commerce, we helped them go from 600,000 a year in online sales to 4.2 million in online sales. And I've actually got this. It's funny. It was the back and forth. Literally, like within a month, we helped them gain an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a day in online sales, and that's huge for a small business. I'm talking like basically 3 partners, a couple employees, and then I worked with them for a while. They sold the company to another company, and I got a wonderful thank you very much for all your help. you know, and that happened about 2 or 3 more times with different with different companies, and I was like, all right, this is kind of crappy. I hate looking for a new client, more or less, or a new job. So we basically, after COVID, I had I had an epiphany about like, who do I like working with the best, and I was like, oh, like cannabis companies are honestly the most fun companies to work with. So I made a really tough decision to fire about half of my clients that we were servicing from the agency, and I took literally we killed close to $250,000 in recurring revenue just to free up space for us to focus on working with cannabis clients and like get back into like free up time to like, hey, let's go set up demos, let's set up pitches, let's go travel, let's go to events, let's go this, let's go that, let's join organizations and start talking to people. And since then, we've helped launch a number of brands, we've helped launch a number of companies, we've helped people make millions and millions and millions of dollars in online sales, both for CBD, hemp, other gray area stuff, as well as dispensaries, cultivators, edibles companies, manufacturers, vape, and other ancillaries. Like we work with some cannabis CPA groups and whatever. So yeah, and then just the evolution of that was from, because my background is in e-com and in sales. We started we won the runner-up award for Weed Mart last year, but which was awesome, because I was like, holy crap, like we actually won something for this. I think we have something. But we built a platform that allowed us to legitimately take e-commerce, traditional e-commerce, like any other online store, and build it for a dispensary. And for the last, there's a whole other story about that we can get into if you want to. But we've had a couple companies come after us, a couple companies try to shut us down, a couple bigger players try to buy us out, and that's when we knew we actually had something that kind of scared the crap out of some of the bigger guys. So we were like, all right, we're turning them all down and we're keeping it going. And
and this is Bud Plug.
Yeah, this is Bud Plug. Like Bud Plug evolved from a delivery app to a online kind of thing, to just like a menu platform, to integrating with different with different features. And like what we actually figured out was, it's like we're not really a point of sale company. We're not really we're not all these other things. What we are is actually we're more of a SaaS like tech company, to where like we just built really good functional back end plugins to help dispensaries just kind of operate and work. versus having, multiple third party companies come in and just like, hey, you pay extra for actual analytics, you pay extra for actual reporting, it's not like abstract blobs, it's not iframes, it's not menus that are hosted on another website. Like, this is all built into your website live. Like, it connects with Metric, connects with BioTrack, live reporting back and forth. Like, all of your inventory is synced, has delivery options, has everything else, has all the other stuff. And it's, and like I was telling you, but before we went live, like, we literally, the first store that we had running 100% on our platform, we actually met at the Cannabis Marketing Summit last year. It was a social equity license holder that was just planning on opening. We met at the after party on the rooftop, and we just got to talking, and he signed up with us, and like, he literally opened up. We literally have the first 30 days, 45 days of data from a store that opened up running 100% on us. And it's really exciting, to say the least.
So it sounds like your SEO experience and agency experience allows you to build this new solution that will help cannabis marketers in a similar vein, because or cannabis business owners and marketers, because they get to own their website and the data and the e-commerce that comes within it. So
that was it. Yeah.
So how does this, could you articulate exactly what that problem is? And again, like, how cannabis marketers can take the lesson learned, or like, what's the most important takeaway for them with this? Like, being able to, we know that most, like, your clients, cannabis marketers, don't have much budget, and
right.
a lot comes down to their online presence and making sure that looks as good as possible, because that's really what you got.
Right.
So can you kind of like articulate that problem, and also a little more about what the solve is, as far as the, how you see that in the day-to-day business side, but also in context to the broader industry that was not the case with the companies you worked with before?
Well, think about it this way. I mean, like, there's because we have to move at the speed of technology, and since the internet, the sharing of information has just become incredible. It's not like, oh, have you heard? Or like, hey, such and such just published this. Like, people pump content nonstop all day long. Like, any app that you're on is newsworthy, is, whether it's real news or quote unquote fake news or whatever, but like, information is shared at lightning speed compared to where it was 20, 30 years ago. And there are still a lot of agencies and digital marketing companies that operate like we don't know how to build a website anymore. In that sense. And like, there is let's just put it this way. One of the things that's always irked me as an agency owner, as a digital marketing agency owner, as a business owner, was what I consider to be incredibly predatory terms of services when it came to who you hired to build your website. I've had 4 or 5 dozen conversations with people who run a dispensary, run a grow, run a brand, run this, that hired an agency, and the agency went and bought their website domain, does their hosting, quote unquote, owns all of their content. And the actual business owner who went and incorporated all this, paid all this money, built this brand, did all of this stuff, doesn't own any of their digital presence. And I've seen things to where the agency that built their website starts eventually holding them hostage, to where it's like, hey, if you don't pay us the money, like, we're, like, yeah, you've paid us thousands of dollars to build your website, to do all this stuff, to set everything up, but we're going to shut your website down if you don't pay us. And I just feel like, if, because generally speaking, unless you're a giant MSO, I mean, even if you are a giant MSO, like, it's still like your quote unquote business baby. Like, you care about building your brand, you care about doing anything else, but more so for a let's just say a social equity license holder, a small business owner, like, hey, this is like, I'm a 1-woman shop, or I'm a 2-person shop, or I'm a 3-person shop. And like, this is what we've been working on now for the last year or 2 years, whatever. We've invested tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and who knows how many man hours into opening and building our brand or our business. But we're still forced to pay this company that doesn't really do anything for us other than, they're slow to respond. They don't, it takes 3 weeks to make updates. The website's broken. We've seen stuff to where, like, we had a client who was paying a marketing company $5,000 a month to build them a new website, and 9 months later they didn't have a website. They paid $45,000 to this company that they didn't have a website built. We've seen it to where, like, the hosting company like owns the business, and it's just like, hey, if you don't pay me, like, literally shut down their entire business, shut down their entire website, where the agency owns their social media handles, and if and won't release them. I've seen stuff to where the company that built your website, for some reason, pushes out a live demo version of your website, like Staging Dot or whatever, that they're collecting sales orders on.
And you see this commonly in cannabis?
Oh, you have no idea. Like, we get calls once a week about this stuff, and we've seen everything. And I'm like, this is outrageous. And then, it's a couple that just now, it's like there are a ton of point of sale companies, and not a ton, but there's a few large players that are like, hey, we're giving out a free point of sale platform to dispensary owners. But with that free point of sale comes a bunch of upsells that they don't tell you about when you sign up, but you're locked in a contract. You're paying for the hardware, you're paying for this, but hey, like, your website or your actual sales menu, your menu of your inventory is hosted on our domain. So you're either iframing it into your website, or you're using their website as your menu, which does nothing for you, for your product searches, for your SEO, but they're also, what they don't tell you is that they're also gathering all of your customer data, and sharing it with whoever. But on the flip side of that, though, too, it's like, oh, if you want us to integrate with your website, here's one of our preferred agency partners, that we recommend, that's going to charge you $2,500 or $3,000 or $1,500 for the setup fee, and then $2,000-$3,000 a month to host your store, or integrate your online store, your menu into your website, that you don't own if you stop paying us. So it's essentially a hostage situation for a lot of dispensaries.
So, okay, so 2 follow-up questions to that. One, so now tell us more about BudPlug in terms of, like, the solve for that, but also just to tackle, like, the problem you've brought up. What are the questions that business owners need to ask agencies when they are interviewing them and they do need to find a website provider? Like, how
do I own my data? Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of questions you should own. It's like, do I own my website? Do I own my URL? Do I own my content? Who are you sharing this information with? If I choose to leave you, am I able to take what I've paid for and move it somewhere else? Where does my data go? If I choose to change point of sale companies or my menu company, am I able to keep all of the work that I've paid for? There's that, and I mean, there's just so much. It's just like, most people are just like, oh yeah, like, I had a talk with a guy in New York a couple weeks ago, social equity guy. He's like, I need, and this is, at least I can't. I mean, I was. This guy called me on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, this has to be important. You're actually calling me on, like, I was like, I don't know this number. He's like, hey, I'm hoping to talk, whatever. And, like, literally, he's like, I'm opening in 30 days. I'm using this platform, because it's the free one that everybody recommends. And I had a talk with and I was like, so here's what's funny. Like, you sign up with this company for your free point of sale platform, and you instantaneously go into their hot leads list. He's like, yeah, I started getting phone calls from like 2 or 3 other agencies that integrate with them through their API, and they're going to build me a website, for XYZ amount of money per month. And I was like, he's like, yeah, but I don't own it. And I was like, well, that's a bad decision to start with. But he's like, yeah, they're showing me all these examples of these big brands that they've worked with. And he's like, listen, here's the deal. I was like, do you have a website? He's like, no. He's like, do you have a maps listing? No. I was like, do you have a phone number or an email set up? He's like, no. He's like, so you don't have anything set up, no social media, no branding, no sort of like any sort of build up or press or any sort of like, you have no following, but you're opening up in Midtown Manhattan in 30 days and you're still under construction, but you're telling me that you need a website built, you need a social media marketing campaign built, you need everything set up. Your rent is $50,000 a month. Your payroll is $25,000 a month. And you need to do at least 300 transactions a day to break even on day one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, we can help you. He's like, yeah, but to be honest, like my marketing budget's only probably about $3,000-4,000. And that's to build the website, to get everything else set up, to do this, to do that. And I was, and then I was like, we can pull some miracles out, but not for that budget. You know what I mean? He's like, well, I guess, I guess maybe I'll just go with, he's like, 'cause I don't care about really, he's like, I don't have the time to like, build a website, manage a website. So I guess it's worth paying those guys $2,000-3,000 a month to build my website. I was like, but you don't own it. He's like, yeah, we'll figure that out later. I was like, but this is what comes into play when it comes to starting a dispensary or starting a business. It's like, you have all the upfront costs of getting the license, getting the inspections, doing the construction, doing the branding, buying your inventory, and then you have this whole digital world that's basically like, how do people find you? They find you through maps. They find you through through location. They find you through this. But if you're already opening up saying, hey, I need to do 300 sales a day with zero buildup, zero brand following, zero brand awareness, can you guarantee me that? And my response was, bro, no. Like, there's no way I can honestly tell you, you can pay me $5,000 today, but there's no way I can guarantee you 300 sales a day starting off in 30 days, starting from zero.
So how do you, so it's important for business owners to make sure before they start, they own their website, they own their data.
Yeah.
So,
own your data, own your hosting, own your domain name, own your social media URLs, own all of your digital presence. It's almost, it's kind of like, you're like, imagine Cannabis Marketing Association being owned by an agency.
Yeah, that's not the case. But that is definitely not the case here. But
no, but that's scary though. It's almost like, hey, Lisa, if you don't pay this, we're going to shut down your website before your event happens.
Yeah, no, those are the things that can put people out of business and
absolutely
ruin your financial and mental health.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious. So assuming all of this they've got it owned, they've done their due diligence and they've set up the right foundation. I do want to understand a bit more about, you mentioned earlier, using digital marketing and SEO strategies. You can scale effectively and be able to get more traffic, get more transactions, and really increase your revenue. So and a lot of our listeners here are marketers. They are fairly digitally savvy, but again, this is cannabis. So like not everyone has the budget and people are at different levels of that. So can you talk about a little bit about the SEO strategies that folks can implement that are somewhat accessible or maybe not so obvious? Like what are some takeaways for our audience as far as how to approach SEO, what they can do, what is important, and how to hone in on that? And yeah, so let's start there.
Yeah, I can absolutely. I mean, you've hit a hot button, so I can talk about this all day. So, so essentially with this, it's like from an SEO standpoint, you want to start off with the good foundation blocks. You want to make sure that your site is not only, well, for one, the first thing you should obviously try to rank for is your brand name. And that actually goes into some thought process for like what you're going to call your brand, because we've seen some incredibly great brands, and then we've seen some other people try to call their brand name the gas station. And, while I think that's a cool name, it's like if you type in gas station, your Google's going to automatically think you're a gas station. So, gas station dispensary, and I'm not going to knock the people that called their, like, hey, like that was a very bold maneuver. And you don't have to cut that. But essentially it's your brand name first. You want to have a location up, you want to have a Maps listing, you want to have an Apple Maps listing, you even want to have a Bing location and all the other stuff that need to go into that.
Even if you work from home, yes. Like,
even
so
if you
say if you're not a dispensary, but your service, yes, you want a location.
Even if you're a service, have a Maps listing and just set an area, or at least have a ping. So, one of the things that I can start talking about search box optimization too, but one of the things that essentially it's like when somebody's looking for your brand, the worst thing you can actually have, worse than bad reviews, is no presence, no presence, or you've picked a name very similar to 15 other companies and they're showing up before you, and because then it's like there's going to be the misconception of that. So, and it's weird, but like, I chose Dope SEO as the URL for the company because for one, it was like really simple to spell, really simple to you don't have to type much. It's really hard it's not impossible to screw up when you're typing it, but it's a brand name that you remember. But beyond that, it's like have a URL that's friendly. Think about this. Like, don't buy like the best cannabis dispensary in your city.com. Like, that's way too many words to type into something. Like, have your brand name, own that. When it comes to this, and it's like there's a bajillion builders out there. You know what I mean? Like, I had an interesting conversation with a dispensary that was opening up in New Jersey, and the guy, it's another social equity group, whatever. These guys built their entire website on Wix. And while Wix is a really, it's like, hey, you could build a website using, we've all seen the commercials on YouTube. Wix is probably, and like Wix spent millions of dollars on this whole like Wix SEO. Like, Wix is good for SEO. Like, they did this whole campaign on like why Wix is good for SEO. When you type in the name of this dispensary, their website doesn't show up for their brand name. Their press shows up.
It's unique.
And it's incredibly unique. It's incredibly unique. You know what I mean? Like their press releases show up. They do have a Maps listing. Their Maps listing shows up for the name of the dispensary. But you have to go to the Maps listing to click website to actually go to their website. And because it's built on Wix, like when you go to shop their menu, it opens up another company's. It opens up the menu platform's URL. Because it was built on Wix and it doesn't integrate and do all this other stuff. They're like, but we really love the way it looks. And I'm like, that's great, but it sucks for SEO. So what, and the other thing like what we did was basically from an e-commerce standpoint, because there's going to be hot strains. There's going to be brands that you work with that are statewide, that are really popular brands to work with. So let's just hypothetically say I'm looking for cookies, strain, cookies Banana Kush OG near me. You know what I mean? Or like, or dispensaries that sell, cookies Banana Kush OG. When you have all that embedded into your website, when you have a real store, like with all of your all of your product information synced in there and properly schema tagged and properly like metadated and with good photos and reviews on the website, you'll rank for those. You'll rank for your brand name. You'll rank for the brands that you carry. You'll rank for your brand name plus reviews. You'll rank for strain reviews on the products that you carry. If you're doing any sort of event or whatever, like you can rank for that. And what we've seen is because most people years ago when let's just say Colorado a couple of years ago, like when Colorado's like a great thing, a lot of people just use their website as a menu. You know what I mean? Like they basically it was almost like a digital flyer where it's like, hey, we're just going to post a picture of our menu on our website. Nothing clickable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna update the PDF photo, but you can't actually see anything. But hey, we're gonna integrate with this thing that's gonna take you away from our site. And what we did was actually, it's like, hey, that PDF, picture that you're putting up on your website is now clickable and searchable. And but it's also like from this, it's like depending on how many locations you have, depending on whatever, like Google has changed its algorithm, within the last couple of years to go location based. It's everything is mobile first now. So it's like your reviews, your search reviews, whether you're searching from a desktop or your phone or a tablet, are going to be based on your location. So this manipulates a lot of like how you show up. So even if you show up for the best dispensary in XYZ city, the first thing that's going to show up are maps above anything. If you type in restaurant near me, sneakers near me, food near me, car repair, auto repair, oil change.
If you are typing with location intent.
With no. Even if you're not doing
general.
Okay. Anybody that's watching this, you could just go in and be like, just type in Chinese food or type in dispensary or type in, oil change. It's going to show you the results based on your location. So a lot of the things with this is that I know everybody wants, like, we want to be the best dispensary in the state. Let's be honest about how people shop, though. Most people aren't going to drive 30 miles for anything unless they live in nowhere,
Yeah.
But so for most people,
there's a hyper local focus on it.
There's a very hyper local focus. So with this, it's like if you have a shop in an area with enough population and you can show up in maps in above everybody else, you're going to get those clicks. Because what are they doing for? It's a buyer intent search. The buyer intent search is, if I'm searching for a dispensary, I'm not doing research on dispensaries. It's because I want to go shop at a dispensary. So you have to think about the user experience on this. If I click on this and I go there and the hours are correct, and one of the craziest updates now that Google did, when Google Maps did, is that your open hours are going to reflect how you show up during different periods of the day.
So if I'm searching dispensary near me and it's like at 10 o'clock when you're closed, it's less likely to come up. Okay.
You're not going to show up compared to the people that are open, versus noon. Because the guys that are open, the shops that are open, are the ones that are going to get, and they're there. So it's a really interesting twist. Like Google's goal is to get you to use their platform, because and essentially it's like they want to deliver the best user experience for the person that's using their search engine. So as long as they can get you to stay on their platform and continue to stay on their platform, so they're constantly updating how their algorithm thinks. And basically with, since COVID or whatever, and since the 800,000% increase in online sales, how people shop, they've realized.
Is that the actual number?
No, it's way more, but I know it was like an 8,000, or like it was at least like 8,000% increase in online ordering during COVID. And here's the thing, it never went away.
Yeah.
It never went away. Like the whole like grocery delivery thing, the whole food delivery thing, the whole wine delivery thing, weed delivery thing, all of that stayed. It normalized for everyone. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, I don't have to go to the grocery store. I could just order my groceries. I mean, like that's a job that wasn't around 5-6 years ago. Like delivery driver for groceries, delivery. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like Uber was a new thing, but then it was like Uber Eats and whatever. So, like we as consumers, so you got to think about how people shop, how they do this. So it's like, hey, if you're within a thing, and let's just say you're in a state that allows delivery, if you're a dispensary that can show up, hey, you're with it, and we can almost guarantee you that's like, hey, your order will be delivered within 30 minutes. Wow, that's amazing. You know what I mean? If I'm searching for cannabis dispensary with delivery, or cannabis delivery. We were working with some guys on the East Coast that ran a delivery service. And I mean, these guys were doing 150, 200 orders a day, just for weed delivery. And it blew my mind. I was like, and they had all the data. I was like, look at this. And it's just, they had maps of like, where are your drivers? You've got 6 different drivers covering 6 different areas doing pickup. And I was like, this is amazing. So this is the thing. It's like you have And especially whether it's medical, whether it's rec, the age group, whatever. Sometimes you have senior citizens that don't want to go to the dispensary, and they'll pay, they'll pay for this. Some people can't drive. Some people are too busy. Some people, hey, just meet me after work. I'm getting off in 30 minutes. Come meet me, come meet where we're supposed to meet me to give me what I need. It's very consumer based. So with this, essentially, it's like the more data you can control as a business owner, the more data you can keep for yourself and not have to give away to other platforms, the more powerful it is, and the better. And when you actually have like a full understanding of the products that are selling, the categories that are selling, the time of day that people are shopping, you can gauge your inventory ordering, you can gauge the sales promos that you do. You can actually get the feedback from your customers to say, hey, what did you think about this? Do you want to leave a review? Because this is what the thing with online shopping is, most people don't buy anything without reading reviews first. It's like, hey, is this strain good? Is this strain bad? Is this that? How does this vape hit? How, do these dab? So the more user generated content you could get as a business owner, it's only going to help you more, and when you have all of that built into your website that you own, because that takes, whether it's automation or whether it's, whether it's manual, you going out like, hey, leave us a review on this product. It's going to help you get the results that you want and help you rank up for other terms.
So
I don't think I took a breath that whole time.
Well, and I do have a few, we're getting close to time, but I do have a few more questions. So first, really quickly, Google has made some changes to their algorithm and cookie tracking in 2024.
Yeah.
Can you give us the quick rundown on what that is and what marketers need to know?
It looks like they're kind of ixnaying the whole cookie thing, and they're keeping their cookies, but third-party cookies, they're not really a big fan of anymore. So this is, once again, this is one more reason why you should own your data and not give it away to third-party tracking companies. And I think this is probably going on a higher level between Google and the other larger social media like Meta and whatever, because just for ads delivery, just for other stuff, I know that this is going to really screw up a lot of ads agencies in regards to retargeting, remarketing,
it's a big
user
deal.
audiences, user audiences or whatever. But this is one more reason that SEO and controlling your data is that much more important, because if Google's not allowing, if Google's essentially, because they rolled it out this month, and I think by the third quarter of this year, they're going to ixnay it all together. So if your Facebook pixel or your retargeting pixel or your cookie tracker or your whatever that you're using from your third-party software doesn't work anymore, guess what? The only thing you have is your email list, your phone number list, your customer user database that should be held within your website or within your store that you hopefully don't share with anybody else, in regards to keeping in touch with the customer. Because it's going to be really hard to, it's really hard to run retargeting ads for cannabis dispensaries to begin with. But from a from a user generated thing, it's this is going to really kill a lot of ads companies, or they're scrambling right now to get everything together to figure out how to make it work. Which, honestly, as an SEO, I'm not mad about. Because it's one more reason, it's the same thing. It's like, I've been preaching this for years. It's listen, you should, don't get me wrong. Social media is very crucial for cannabis dispensaries, but you're at the mercy of the platform. You don't own Meta, you don't own Instagram, you don't own TikTok, you don't own anything. I've seen people get pushed out on LinkedIn, hey, LinkedIn took down my post recently because it seemed like I was selling something. Facebook is very anti-cannabis. Instagram is very anti-cannabis if you're trying to sell, and you can have your account shut down overnight. I've seen companies just lose their account instantaneously because I'm shadow banned.
Yeah.
My Instagram is shadow banned. It's like you're talking about things that you're not supposed to talk about, and we've
Oh
restricted
yeah,
your reach.
they're not friendly at all to
Right.
cannabis
So
content.
here's the thing. It's like getting people to follow you on a platform that you have no control over. To me, it just seems like a really bad investment. And if your entire strategy is social media, I don't think that's a really good thing, because once again, it's like people use search engines. People search from their mobile phones. From a buyer intent standpoint, when I look for reviews on something, when I look to go shop, I don't go on Instagram or Facebook. Hey, where
Yeah.
do I want to eat? Let's go on Facebook. Where do I want to go buy weed? Let's go on Facebook. I go on Google, and the thing with this is that, like, Google, 9 times out of 10, if you do proper optimization, you'll outrank the weed maps. You'll outrank Leafly. You'll outrank the third-party menu services that you pay for. It's good to have them. I'm not saying that they're not beneficial, but what I'm saying is, like, you don't need to run your entire business. I've seen people who use weed maps as their website.
Yeah. So not only owning your tech and your data and your website is important, but owning your content and creating it and having a system for that is going to be more of a
Crucial.
primary strategy in marketing than some folks have relied on in the past, which is really ads based and retargeting based, as opposed
Crucial.
to focusing more on ads and focusing more on what content can we create. And Google's update and algorithm is now, or their tech changes are now really putting that to the forefront of marketers' problems. So basically, if people and businesses who are more ad reliant or third party reliant for their
Yeah.
top of funnel are going to
Mm-hmm.
struggle more if they
Yeah.
don't
Because
switch to
yeah,
their
because your
own
your
channel.
your top of funnel awareness is going to get crushed. You're with these cookies going away. Your cross channel, impression based ad campaign, that goes on different online publications, your marketing is going to get completely jacked. To where it's like you don't have a target demographic anymore. Your quote unquote audience is going to disappear eventually, and you're not going to have that anything. I'm sure that there are going to be some really inventive agencies that hide their cookie somewhere, or that are going to start buying email lists and are going to start retargeting based on email lists, or or potentially even geofencing. It's like how many people, they may start, but I think, like, even with that, because you can geofence, it gets really scary when you actually start looking at geofence targeting and cookies on phones and what you can do. But I think a lot of that has to do with that too. It's like they don't want people, being able to geofence target people based on where they shop or where they live or where they frequent. This is
Yeah.
just one more reason why SEO is just going to be way more crucial. Because, like, for you, it's like you can run ads. I think it's almost like it could potentially be a grand reset for marketing again, to where it's like you don't have that data. You're not going to be able to retarget. You're not going to be able to rerun impressions on publications for your stuff. So it's one more reason to own all your data, and that's why we went ahead and built out the whole BudPlug plugin platform, because it allows you to run your entire dispensary 100% on your own website. You can run point of sale registers from your website. You can run, and you don't need hardware. That's the whole thing. We built this so that you can run it on tablets.
That's awesome.
Which is crazy, So it's we're pretty proud of it. But yeah, this is essentially, like, I'm actually really excited that Google's killing the pixels and killing the cookies, because it's it's going to leave a scramble. It's going to leave whatever. But I'm a big fan of, like, supporting small businesses versus, like, the big mega companies. Like, I've always been a bigger fan of the underdog. I've always been, and I think this may be why I love cannabis, because, like, cannabis seems to be like you've got your big players, like your big money players, but it can be a great equalizer in the sense of, like, it can even the playing field for a lot of small companies, as long as they're doing everything the right way, and it's going to hurt some brands. It's going to hurt some manufacturers. It's going to hurt some other stuff, but it also, it's like we're all entrepreneurs. We all learn to pivot and dance and, come up with crazy marketing ideas to grow our brands, however we have to, essentially. So, it may kill some people, it may kill some ad agencies, but we've always been SEO first before anything else. So I'm actually looking forward to it.
Well, thank you, Max. I really appreciate your time and your insight.
My pleasure.
Can you share any contact information? Where can our listeners find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Anything you want?
Yeah. So I'm one of two Max Uhas's on the planet right now. The other guy lives in Europe and he's a photographer. But if you type in my name, you'll find me. Best way to get in touch with us, though, is actually let's go to dopeseo.com, or if you're interested in checking out the plugins, like go to getbudplugged.com. Yes, we know what it sounds like. And yeah, you won't forget it. So, but it's Bud, B-U-D, plugged.com, getbudplugged.com or dopeseo.com. And, I'm always around. You'll see me at the events. You'll see me at the thing. You'll see me doing stuff. And, I love talking this stuff. I don't talk sports. I don't talk politics. I do talk marketing all day long. So.
Well, so do we. So that's a great match. We are the same type of people.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you,
Absolutely.
Max. Appreciate
you. Lisa, thank you so much.
All of your insights with everybody. Again, if you guys want to reach out to Max, you can also find him on LinkedIn. And we will see you at next week's episode.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode. You can learn more about the Cannabis Marketing Association at our website, thecannabismarketingassociation.com. If you're interested in joining, you can check out our member benefits there or email us at membership@marketingcannabis.org and connect with us on social media. You can follow us on LinkedIn, sign up for our newsletter on our website, and you can reach out and connect with me as well, Lisa Buffo on LinkedIn, and send me a message and let me know that you're one of our podcast listeners. And if there's any topics you all want to hear, any guests you want to hear from, please email us again at membership@marketingcannabis.org. We'd love to get your feedback. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and we'll see you next week.